done.
Yes, Mr. Frodo. It's over now.
So you're telling me that Darth Plagueis has been hanging around on this rocky planet with Quimir this whole time?
Son of a bitch!
Peering around corners and hiding behind walls like a creep, whilst his apprentice Quimir trains May. Plagueis knows that the Sith live by the rule of two for a reason, so why the hell would he break the rule of two to allow his apprentice to have their own apprentice, especially one as pathetic as May? She's hardly even a dark side user, let alone a Sith apprentice. Plagueis would not allow his apprentice to waste time chasing these bipolar twins around. It's a waste of his apprentice Quimir's time. Has he not got anything better to do? And why does he let his apprentice Quimir chase after his pathetic Padawan after she disowned him? Quimir is literally a Sith who was trained by Plagueis himself, and yet somehow he needs one of these twins to be his apprentice. It's almost like he can't live without at least one of them being around him. It all makes zero sense. They literally showed Plagueis on screen for 3 seconds just to completely disrespect Star Wars lore once again, in the worst way possible. The 3 seconds that Plagueis was shown on screen changes so much about this story and Star Wars lore as a whole. So you're telling me that May has never met Plagueis, yet has spent nearly her whole life on this little island planet? Like, am I supposed to believe that she didn't see Plagueis' creepy self peeping around corners even once? Did Plagueis only train and speak to Quimir when May was asleep? And Plagueis didn't create Anakin, the Force created Anakin, as a counter to what Plagueis and Palpatine were doing, or just as a counter to Plagueis and Palpatine in general, because they created an imbalance in the Force. So the writers can't even say that May and Osha were actually his first subjects of an unnatural birth before Anakin was. Now let's just pretend that Plagueis did create the twins. Why would he need Quimir around? I'm sure he'd want to handle and have full control over training May to be what he created her to be, instead of wasting time with Quimir when he'd simply have May be his only apprentice. But if he did create her, this would also mean that Plagueis didn't tell his apprentice Quimir that May was created by him and the Force, because in this very episode, Quimir is shocked to hear Sol say that May is a product of the Force. The camera literally focuses on him to show the audience how surprised he was. This domino effect goes on and on. Unanswerable questions lead to more unanswerable questions. There's just so many elements of this that cannot make sense, because Leslie Headland and the other writers didn't think it through, and obviously don't have enough knowledge of Plagueis and how the Sith work as a whole. Throughout the whole show, it's entirely blatant that the writers have consistently not done enough research on Star Wars and lack knowledge of it.
You're goddamn right.
Plagueis' inclusion in this show could not have been more lazy and cheap. It's pure disrespect to such a cool and interesting character. This terrible show doesn't even deserve to mention Plagueis' name, let alone show his face. Look, I have a question for you guys. What's worse than one cheap cameo from a fan favorite character?
Wait for it. Here it comes. Almost there.
2 cheap cameos. Yoda's balding head makes an appearance in the final shot of this series for 1 second.
Oh, hell no!
Just because Disney thinks that Star Wars fans are so used to getting pooped on like a rich man in Dubai that they're going to cream their pants just by seeing the sight of Yoda's receding hairline. I just know that if we went back in time to show George Lucas what Disney would do with the franchise he built, he would go around slapping everyone at Disney like he taught Will Smith everything he knows. Episode 8 of The Acolyte is Big Booty Butt Cheeks.
What?
May escapes Sol's ship on an escape ship and flies to the nearest planet, which just so happens to be the planet where the incident went down in the flashback, and luckily lands right outside her old village.
Oh, well, isn't that convenient?
Out of everywhere she could have landed on this huge planet, she landed right outside her village. What are the chances? Quimir begs Osha to let him train her, and she rejects him just like his last apprentice ended up doing. Plagueis would never take on such an incompetent apprentice who can't even keep one of his own. Sol's whole existence as a character gets absolutely shafted in the most horrid way possible. He killed Mother Anastasia because she turned into a black magic demon. Yet because the writers wanted to make the Jedi the real evil side of this story, and quick side note, they dedicated a whole episode to making the Jedi evil and somehow failed to do so. The witch cult were straight up villains. The Jedi had every right to get the twins out of that unbearable cult. Anyway, back to what I was saying. Sol killed Mother Anastasia because she was clearly about to kill May, with no setup whatsoever. And even if the black magic demon form wasn't actually going to kill May, why did she turn into that in the first place? It had no setup. She didn't explain to Sol or the others what the demon form does. I mean, what did she expect?
It's just common sense.
Sol eliminated her before she could harm May, yet in this final episode, I kid you not, Osha hears that Sol killed her mother, and without even letting him explain why he was absolutely right to do so, Osha, of all people, slowly chokes Sol to death.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
Even though he's the only character in this series to show her any kind of love and care. He was the only one to feel compassionate and guilty for what he did, yet she chokes the guy out slowly.
What?
But wait, this fuckery gets worse. The writers are not done clapping his cheeks, because to explain simply to you guys, after Sol's slow death, the green booger looking bitch, aka Master Venestra, aka Leslie Headland's wife, talks mad shit on bro's name, smearing dirt on his name and tarnishing any respect and legacy for his name that Sol earned over his whole life and career as a kind, likable person and good Jedi. She tells the council and senators that Sol was the one who killed all the Jedi that May assassinated because he didn't want the truth to get out. Then she continues to call Master Sol, whilst his Force Ghost is currently 6 feet deep, a flawed man.
Fuck.
She literally made Sol be remembered by the galaxy as one of the most famously evil and powerful criminals that have ever existed. Bro did not die for this. Neither did he deserve this shaftery. And even after he's departed from the land of the living, he's still getting pounded into the ground. This is so far beyond the greatest level of disrespect to a dead person's name that I've ever had the burden of witnessing.
Tell me about it.
Oh yeah, and after all of this, she has the nerve to say to a brainwashed Osha that Sol was a kind, brilliant, compassionate man and a good friend. There's not even one scene in this show where she has shown any respect to Sol. She was bullying him and disregarding everything he says throughout the whole show. She always acted like she hated him and despised his presence, then destroyed his name after he's gone. She might just be the most unlikable character in existence. If this show gets a season 2, which it better not for Disney's sake, I hope she gets eaten by 20 rancors. Quimir wipes Osha's memory, May turns to the dark side and joins Quimir. The end.
It's done. It's over now.
Star Wars continues to have a dark cloud over its head. Sol continues to get plowed after he's dead. I don't know what's going on anymore. This show is diabolical.
Holy fuck! That was diabolical!
Star Wars is killed once again. Thank you guys for watching. The Acolyte is finally over. I'll see you all on the next one.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.